So we're now, for the first time in history, in a moment where our technology, and not only communications, but technology in general, is developing so much faster than our institutions, our culture, our regulatory environment has the pace and energy to follow. And this kind of gap that's increasing and that is ever increasing can only increase so much before the society at large becomes sort of unstable. Are we losing the ability to have deep and meaningful face-to-face relations with people around us? Are we in a moment where we need to have some sort of electronic device to mediate the way how we communicate to each other? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm really delighted to be standing here in front of you. My name is Dr. Miloš Borenović. I head product at TeleSign, and in the next 25 minutes or so, I will try to make most of your time by telling you the ups and downs of modern communications, specifically related to business-to-consumer communications, and basically how businesses like TeleSign can mediate some of the threats that I've mentioned and how they can basically make the world be a bit of a better place. The recording of sound, printed materials, and so on. But the idea that I want to take you through is just the last maybe 30 years, which from a historical point is only like a single point. But there are a couple of phenomena that happened in the last 30 years that made this evolution go exponential. So if you are an 80s or even maybe 90s kid, if you recall how the communications went back in the time when there were no iPads, there were no cell phones, and basically, if you recall that moment of waiting for a postcard to arrive or waiting for that special phone call for hours because you had to stand by the phone and just wait till the phone rings. Those were somewhat different days. And now, only 20, 30 years from that, the communications evolved significantly. And there are two major phenomena that are basically in charge of drive of evolution of communications. One, we have the wireless technology that is ubiquitous, and basically you can communicate with everybody on the go. And the second one is the revolution that's made by the internet. So internet came and revolutionized the way how business is done, and then how businesses communicate to their customers. So suddenly, we have two of profound phenomena that have touched basically each and everybody in the world and enabled the communication that we haven't previously seen. So what is the status quo that we have? I would say the key word is ubiquitous. So you can communicate to anybody in the world, so distance doesn't matter anymore. It's instantaneous. You can communicate at any time of day, any time of night. The message will come instantaneously. And the flavor, the number of ways you can communicate to people is increasing by the days. And the startup community and entrepreneurship in general are adding ways and applications day by day. So these are the ways that, this is the way we are living currently, and basically almost anybody can communicate to anybody in the world instantly. And this is the world that we've created. But is it all good? Let me just go briefly through some of the downsides. There is a book by MIT professor Shirley Turkle that's called Alone Together, that goes to say that we've gone from a community that's able to create deep face-to-face relations to a community that's basically able to create much larger number of relations, but at a more shallow level. Next, I would say that, do you guys know what FOMO is? Fear of missing out, yeah. So basically we have this urge to go and check whether there is something going on in our favorite social network, and and there are studies around that. Roughly 85% of young people aged 18 to 24 will just grab their phone at the first instance they're idle, versus only 10% of people that are aged over 60 or 65. So this is a dramatic change. Opposite to that, we are creating more and more content. So wherever we go, we need to check in. Wherever we go, we update statuses. We have Instagram posts and so on. The other thing I'd like to turn your focus on is the context switch. So our working environment is created in a way to support quick collaboration and communication. Think about the open spaces in which you work. So they're designed so that anybody can stop by and ask you a question. Think about the notifications on your laptops and on your mobile phones. Those are also created to make you easily accessible. But on the other hand side, there is a trade-off to that. So there is a study done by Microsoft that says that people from 2000 to 2015 have lost roughly 1/3 of their attention span. And now, apparently, the attention span of human is less than an attention span of a goldfish. So don't ask me how they've measured the attention span of a goldfish. I really don't know that. And then there are other things. So this massive amount of content that is created has, and the effects of globalization and basically this abundance of information created some sort of an auction or race to kind of get in front of our eyes. And businesses are competing to get in front of our eyes every day. And they do so by providing more extreme headlines. Everything is either super awesome or really, really bad. And these are also the known effects of polarization. And in turn, we are getting used to reading only this type of headlines. So you all know of clickbaits and stuff like that. And in the process, we are kind of getting less and less sensitive to all the beautiful shades that are in the middle. So those are the main few phenomena that I feel are impacting in a negative way, basically the evolvement of communication. What we as a company that's in communication and we as a society can do is basically constructed of a number of things. We as TeleSign, we are dealing with business to consumer communications. So we take requests from companies and deliver messages to their customers or end users and vice versa. And the way how we treat our business is to have some sort of a holistic approach, to be able to do this in a way to provide value for both parties of this spectrum, so both for the end user and for the business. And this is something that basically we, or at least I like to call the responsible communication. So take into account one of the major businesses that we have is SMS business. So take into account business to consumer communication whereby you are receiving an SMS message. This can be an OTP message. So do you guys know what one-time passwords are or two-factor authentication? So you're trying to log into your Google Mail account, for instance, and you need the code to enter your account. And at that point in time, you're actually waiting for this message to come. Versus the same method of communication, you can be, like I am at this point, holding a presentation, and if you get some sort of a notification on your phone and you have forgotten to switch the phone, it is likely to cause some sort of a context switch, and it's likely not to be of very great use to you. So in one case, you have accretive event that's accretive to the value, and in the opposite case, you have event that is basically destroying the value. So how do we do that? So what's the right measure? I think that the word that we want to use is contextual. There are other things beside the payload of the communication itself. So apart from the message itself, we need to know all the things that surround this type of communication and the way how it's done. So who we are communicating to, where is this person, how they want to be contacted, when they want to be contacted. And if this is the case, if we can do this in a right way, we have much better chances of creating this type of communication that's accretive to the overall business and our customers and the end users. So what is this actually meaning? When we talk about the contextual, there is this notion of contextual accuracy, which goes to say that we need to have the right message, we need to have that message in the right time, and we need to have the message basically in the right way, so catered in a right way. To basically elaborate a bit more on that, I would say that we need to ask ourselves the question, where is the user at that point? What is he doing? If the message comes, will it interrupt what he has been doing, or is the user expecting this type of communication or the message? What is the format of the message? Is it in the language that he can understand? Is it in a structure that's easy to digest? Is it easy to act upon? Can the user just click on the message and respond easily? So there are quite a number of things that should be taken into account when we want to provide this contextual communications. And on the other hand side, I would say that there is another aspect to this balance, so to speak. I'm sure that all of you have seen or at least heard Facebook CEO speaking to some of the senators, and there have been recent also other events that basically goes to say that there needs to be a change in control over who owns the data on consumers. And this control is slowly shifting from businesses to consumers. And this is the right way. But striking this, striking this balance in between data privacy on one hand side and providing the contextual communications is something that's much easier said than done. And we at TeleSign, we actually try to do this, and we feel that our strengths are knowledge of regulatory environment, knowledge of technology, knowledge of our consumer processes, knowledge of our customers, and both consumer processes are the strengths that are helping us basically succeed in this. So, a couple of words. I've mentioned TeleSign a couple of times. Let me just briefly dive into what TeleSign is. TeleSign is basically cloud communications platform, and we provide API access to our customers so that we can, on their behalf, deliver communications to end users around the world. And not only that, we are also catering that communication so that we optimize the processes that they do in a way that supports some sort of engagement and drive loyalty and so on. Now, what's interesting about TeleSign is that we have been founded on security. So some of this data privacy, reliability, and other stuff, they fall pretty natural to us. And up until fairly recently, we haven't even thought about taking any other type of traffic from our customers except for security. So we didn't take any alerts, any reminders, notifications, marketing traffic. But then we thought, okay, it's kind of a bigger market. We have this very reliable, very advanced platform that we want to take advantage of and play in this bigger market. And basically, the customer base is also one of the advantages that we have, because this customer base that we have is pretty impressive, and broadly speaking, 20 out of 25 world's largest web properties are our customers. So in a way, although I can't tell you the actual names, but if you think about it, from the moment you wake up in the morning and check your email, and then you go to work and use your word processor, until the moment that you get to bed and check your favorite social networks, you have likely been touched by some of our products in a variety of ways. And this provides purpose to what we do. We are honored and proud to be able to have this kind of reach and this kind of influence to shaping the communications world of tomorrow. I've mentioned a couple of times before the SMS. I'm briefly going to tell you just why we are so reliant on SMS. Basically, this application-to-person SMS, how it's called, is giving the second life to SMS as a technology, which is now fairly old. Businesses have figured out that millennials, which are gaining more of a share of the economic power by day, are basically more likely to text than to have other types of communication. So 2 out of 3, roughly, millennials would prefer to text than to have other types of communications. And then this realization is also relevant when it comes to businesses, because they can reach out and a huge number of people by using SMS. So the important things about SMS is that it doesn't require any sort of data access. It doesn't require you to have any sort of smartphone or an application installed. So it's quite ubiquitous, and businesses can have very, very broad reach immediately. On the other hand side, if you take a look at all the use cases of business-to-consumer communications, most of those can be covered with SMS. There are only a handful of those that are better suited by some of the richer forms of communications. So the mission that we have is to connect, to engage, and to protect. Those are the 3 main things we do for our customers. The embodiment of why we exist. When I say to engage, to connect, I think about our basically delivery of more than 200 countries. We are able to deliver communications for our customers to more than 200 countries. And this, in the back end, assumes that we have operator connections to more than 300 or 400 operators in the world and providers in the world. And this is something that requires us to have a machine that's in the end that assumes routing departments, that assumes provider onboarding, but also enablement and compliance departments that take care of a specific regulatory environment in each of those geographies, which is something that is adding additional benefit to both the customer and the end user. When we talk about protection, so this protection is kind of twofold. It goes both directions, from causing a lot of issues for most of our customers. Roughly 80% of our customers says that this is a major issue for them. And basically, businesses that have fake accounts are valued roughly 1/3 or even 40% lower than those that don't have that amount of fake accounts. So this is one of the ways how we protect our customers. And I'll tell you in a bit of some other ways. Other way around, because we have this self-service platform, for instance, and we have a lot of customers, we need also to be able to protect the end users. So on that end, we also have machine learning-based algorithm that detects any sort of malicious messages and communication that might go the other way around. So this is to protect the end users from the malicious customers. And finally, engagement is something that we do to optimize our customers' communications in a way that supports retention, that supports growth, and that supports basically loyalty of the end users to our customers. So, in a nutshell, we have a couple of groups of products. I've been talking about the SMS products, so we have this ability to deliver SMSs across the world, and interactively end users can send us back the SMSs, and we will forward those to our customers. So this two-way experience is something that is the core of what we do. It is currently something that is growing over $100 million in revenue, annual revenue alone. We've added some of the other components to it, meaning that we now have a new product that makes, for our customer, makes communication in between two end users. So our customer requests us to connect two of the end users, and then they communicate, but in an anonymous way, in a way that they don't reveal their identities to each other. Think about our previous speaker and the dating sites example. This is just one of the use cases for such product. Then we, as SMS, we have voice as a channel of delivery. So be it a pre-recorded message or a text-to-speech message, we have a wide network, and we can deliver voice messages across the world, and we can take back the inputs that are put in the keyboard and take them back to our customers. App Verify, just an SDK that you can put in inside of your app that you're building, and it can provide you with basically frictionless and easy authentication and verification. And I just want to spend a bit more time on the data intelligence product. So, for instance, we have this core product. So our customers will tell us a phone number, and based on the phone number, we will tell them what is the likelihood of the man that's behind that phone number to perform a fraudulent action. Now, for me, this is pretty fascinating. What's under the hood is basically a huge amount of data that we see on our network, and then a team of data scientists that's actually providing this machine learning algorithm that's utilizing our domain and technical knowledge of fraudulent behavior to recognize patterns and then assign this likelihood of a user being a fraudulent user. And finally, Phone ID API. So this is the API that brings back to our customer the attributes of a specific phone number. So they, again, provide us a phone number, and we are likely to tell them whether it's a landline or a mobile phone, what is the operator or the carrier, what is the location of the number, what is the, basically, in some cases, address and the name of the user. So, of course, again, everything here has a loop of consent, and we need to come back to that responsible communication when we talk about this. And not only that, what's personally, for me, I'm proud of is that most of these things, or at least large part of this, is done here in Serbia. So although TeleSign is headquartered in MDR, in Marina del Rey, in Silicon Valley, we have the biggest office here in Serbia. So we've started in 2012 with an office of roughly 10 people, and now we are zeroing in on 200. So we are growing. And what's also pretty interesting is that we have not almost, but I think all the facets of our business are represented in our Belgrade office. So we have sales here that's covering pretty much the whole world apart from the US. We have basically routing, enablement, compliance, product management, development, huge development actually here in Belgrade. And those are all the things that we are proud of. when it comes to my team and basically product management team, we have a team of 10 experienced product managers working for not only a market success, but I would say that the other important role that we have as a team is to kind of provide internally alignment on what we are doing and why we are doing this. Because if you look at the broader base of companies, IT companies in Serbia, only a smaller part of them is actually having some sort of product developed here. Most of them are outsourcing the product, and TeleSign is different than that, basically because we have this, we are bringing in this type of alignment and purpose in what all of our departments are working on. So before I wrap up, this is just a short summary of what I wanted to convey to you. There are ups and downs in how the communications are evolving. Be mindful to how you utilize the modern technologies, because there are those downsides. TeleSign is sort of positioned in a unique way to mitigate business-to-consumer communications in a responsible way. Because we have been founded on security, we are aware of all of the regulatory requirements, and also the platform that we have is something that can provide, basically we can provide delighting experiences to the end users on behalf of our customers. And this is the promise that we give to our customers, is the promise of secure, reliant, and basically engageful experience that we provide to our customers, to their customers or our end users. And to that end, the motto that we have is that your message matters. We will deliver your message in a best possible way that there is, in a contextual way, in a way that that doesn't breach any sort of privacy or any sort of other regulatory issues. Now, just a few technical things. You can start using our platform at telesign.com/go, and you can check yourself all the products that I've been talking about. And the second thing is, tomorrow from 10:30 in the morning, the colleague from my team, Ilya Zagorac, will give a workshop on building and managing the project team. Now, this guy is probably telling me to sod off more frequently than my wife. And I'm still recommending that you guys go and visit his workshop. So I think it's worth it. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was pretty much all. Thank you very much for being here. I was delighted to have this opportunity to speak to you. Thank you.